Yeah, Muslim extremism. I have a friend who makes a lot of comments on my page. His name is Daft Bugger, and I think he's a new atheist, or he's a big fan of the new atheist. And he wanted me to address the reason we have all these Muslim terrorists, and his point was he agrees with Sam Harris and the late Christopher Hitchens that the problem is religion, namely the Muslim religion, that the Muslim religion is somehow more violent and dangerous than other religions. And I can't necessarily speak to that. I will say that Muslims are, if you watch any of those shows about Muslim culture or about different caliphates, different empires, different kingdoms, they will say that they were tolerant. That in most of those places they were tolerant. Many Jewish people will say that they got along fine with the Palestinians until 1948, when the Zionist movement really kicked off and really got started, and they came in and kicked them all out of their house. The Palestinians got kicked out of their house. And based on my research, my people, you see these people? I mean, this is me. Look at me, okay? Look at me. Can you see my arm? You see those freckles? Yeah, I'm white. I'm a white dude. I'm a white dude. I didn't go and send my DNA for a sample to Ancestry.com to find out how much Irish I am and how much Italian, how much of this bullshit I am. I am a white guy. So I get to talk about white people. I get to talk about us. From what I can understand, we are very violent people. And I just read in the last couple of months, I'm not an expert on this, but according to one gentleman I read, as far as who was the most violent people of the 19th century, 9 of the most violent wars of the 19th century occurred in China. And according to those guys, the Chinese are very violent people. And I recall my professor, Robert Dale Judy, speaking to the fact that the Chinese were very violent, dangerous people. And I know that, according to Kevin Cahill, that Genghis Khan killed 60 million people between 1207 and 1227, and he certainly was not a Muslim. I don't know what his belief systems were. Some kind of tribal religion. Because I know that I saw the movie about Genghis Khan that a Russian guy made, and it was apparent that he felt that he was working with some form of God, and he had a belief in God. His God was different than the God that we worship, or that you guys worship. So I cannot speak to any of that. I would say that the people of the North, the Chinese and the white people, I would say they are probably more violent because of where they grew up. They grew up in a place where they had harsh winters, and it was harsh. And they had a time of plenty, so there would be plenty of people. Then the next thing you know, there wasn't anything left, and everybody had to fight over it. And this probably existed for a long time. People have been up in the North for, according to some, about 40,000 years. So we are probably more violent. Where if you live in a nice climate where it's the same year round, I don't see where people have plenty, where people have to be violent. I don't think people are violent because it costs something to start a war. Either if you're in a feudal society or you're a modern society. There's cost to war. And why would you raise the cost of war unless you were threatened? I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also think if you look at history, war really cranked up when we entered the agricultural revolution and the population took off and all these things started happening. There's a lot going on that don't really have anything to do with religion. So I'm just saying this is a complex thing. It's a little more than just the fact that people believe in Allah or people believe in Jesus Christ or people believe in Buddha. Buddhists run around killing people. There are Buddhists that are killing Muslims in Myanmar that have done it within the last 6 months. Now, my experience with Muslims myself, because I sold car insurance in my last incarnation, people would come into my office and I would sell them. But the main way I sold car insurance is me and another guy who was this charismatic guy that looked like Richard Gere would go out every Friday and go visit car dealers, hand them donuts, tell them how smart they were, make jokes. And we would go around, spend the whole day seeing about 24 of these guys, different companies. And we knew a couple of hundred of them. And we got to know them all. And then they would call us when somebody was there buying a car and say, "Hello, my friend. This guy needs an insurance." And I would give them a bid, put like $200, $150 on there, hand the guy back $50. And I spent a lot of time with these guys, and a lot of these used car dealers in Fresno, where I was from, were Muslim. Were from Palestine, Jordan, those countries. I think most of them were either Jordan or Palestine. Most of them were Palestinian. And I got to know them all. There was one even from Egypt that was there. And he went to Washington. Now, these guys were not proselytizers. I never remember them ever saying, as we say here in my culture, I never heard any of them witness to me where they said like Christians do, "Oh, if you died tonight and you were before Jesus and they asked you, why do you deserve to go to heaven, what would you tell them?" You know, because Christians will have this pitch that they have. I never heard any of these Muslims pitch me one time. The only time I ever got pitched was when I was in San Diego working in an agency, and some Muslims from Eastern Europe who were white guys came in and proselytized me and went on that they were the last prophet. And I said, "Well, what about Joseph Smith? Was he the last prophet?" Because Joseph Smith came and they looked at me like I was an idiot. They didn't even know who he was. They didn't even know who he was. I mean, the Mormons have, a couple of 100 million followers? So they are a valid religion now. They are a valid movement. One of the fastest growing religions in the world. Scientology, a lot of people criticize that. Was that guy, the prophet, whatever his name is, the master? Was he a prophet? Yeah, I guess he was. You know, I think he was a charlatan and a crook. But L. Ron Hubbard was a prophet. Whether you like it or you don't like it, a lot of people follow him. A lot of very smart people up in Hollywood that make billions of dollars, they follow him. But as far as these Muslim people, they were not proselytizers. They were not assholes. They weren't moral people. They were the most greedy people that I've ever met in my life. I worked for one of them when I was back in California just last year in 2014. And they worked the day after Thanksgiving. They worked Christmas Day. They didn't give a shit about any kind of holiday. They didn't give a shit about anything except money. And they would, and most of them to a man, would fuck your wife when you weren't around and act like they were your best friend. They didn't seem to be particularly moral people. But for them to say that they were people that would jump on an airplane and kill and murder and slaughter because of that, no, I didn't see that. That has not been my personal experience at all. Not even a tiny bit did I see that. And I was around them for at least better part of 10 years. I was around them and I didn't see it. So all this stuff about Muslim extremists and Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens and all that run around, it's good entertainment. But I personally did not see it amongst these people. So yeah, they seem like nice people, charming people, great salesmen, fun to be around. They weren't pain in the asses like Christians. A lot of Christians. I have an aunt that's a Jehovah's Witness, and every 5 minutes she'll tell you about how great the witnesses are. Drive you fucking crazy. They didn't do that. So anyway, that's already all I have to say about Muslim fundamentalism. Peace out.